Round three, here we go. Unit 9 test review. This is a cone. So remember, a cone is just a pyramid with a circular base. All right, that's the only difference. The slant height on this guy, let's not overcomplicate it. We have a right triangle here. Here, we're going to call that our C value, or I guess I'm not going to call it C. I'm going to call it cursive L because when we look at the formula, we use cursive L for our slant height. So we're going to have 4 squared plus 5 squared equals L squared. All right, remember L is that hypotenuse, so that has to be kind of by itself. 16 plus 25 equals L squared. That's going to be 30, 41. 41 equals L squared. So how about this? I'll square root both sides, and we'll say the slant height here is equal to the square root of 41. All right. The lateral area. Oh boy. What's the formula on this one? LA. Let's see here. It was pi. So it's the perimeter of the base times the height. So pi r L perimeter is 2 pi r. We had to divide it by um, is it just pi r L? Is that 2 pi r times L? Do we divide it by 2 or do we divide it by 3? I think we divided it by 2. We're gonna go with that. Lateral area is pi r L. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. You guys are all call me out on it. Anyways, that's okay. So we're just gonna have pi times 5 times the square root of 41. That's going to be, what is that going to be? 5 pi square root of 41. Can't really do anything with that. If you want to get a decimal, you could throw all of that in, but that's okay. The surface area is going to be that lateral area plus the base. So I'm going to call that capital B. The base is equal to pi r squared. That is going to be 25 pi, right? The base, the radius is 5, so 5 squared is 25. So the surface area, this is going to be nasty. 5 pi times the square root of 41, square root of 41, that looks like a 9. Square root of 41 plus 25. 25. So it's the first problem. Every video, the first problem is just a disaster. All right. So there you go. There's your surface area. Again, if you want to get a decimal, throw that all in. I don't care. Um, Now the volume of a cone, I'm going to say V equals capital B times capital H divided by 3. The area of the base, that's a circle. So this is going to be pi r squared times the height divided by 3. The height is 4, the radius squared is 25. 4 times 25 is 100. So this is going to be 100 pi divided by 3. All right, and that one's done. And hopefully I got formula right on the lateral area because I'm not going to make another video. All right, so we're going to call that one good. So feel free to leave a dislike because of that. That's fine. I don't care. Um, Given the rectangular hexagonal prism with the base edge of 12 and a height of 8. All right, this guy right here, that's a base edge, right? So that has 12. And then we have a height of 8. All right. Now, what are they doing? What are we doing here? We need to figure out the lateral area and the surface area and the volume. All right. So the lateral area, that's going to be the easiest one. So this is capital P times H. So maybe down here, I would say capital P equals. It is a regular hexagon. That means all the sides are the same. All the sides in this case are 12. So we have 12 times 8. 12 times 8, that's going to be 80 plus 16, which gives us 96. All right, so your perimeter is 96. Your height, capital H, is 8. So your lateral area, that's 96 times 8. 96 times 8. What is 96 times 8? That's 768. All right, now the surface area, I need the base. So we have to figure out the base here. So capital B, this is a hexagon. All right, this isn't one of our like nice formulas that we have to do. It's a regular polygon. So this is our 1/2 AP formula. So what we have to do is we need to figure out what is that apothem. All right, so if I'm going to use red here, this guy is our apothem. Now, in one of our earlier videos, I think it was this guy, we had a hexagon. All right, so it's going to follow the same kind of procedure as what's going on right here. So if we look back here, this is a hexagon, but you got to think this is a perspective, so it looks a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, you see how it's split up into two smaller triangles? I'm just going to draw that left one there. This has a side length of 6. All right, it's just going to be half of that lateral side. This whole thing has a side length of 12, so it's just going to be 6. All right. Before we said that this was a 30-degree angle. That's a 90. This is a 60-degree angle. This is going to be 6 square root of 3, and this is going to be a 12. All right. Now, the apothem, the one I want, is the 6 square root of 3. We already have the perimeter. We found that earlier. So we know the base is equal to 1/2 times 6 square root of 3 times the perimeter, which was 96. All right, and you can again throw all of that in your calculator. And I know I say that a lot, but here's what I mean by that. Um, Throw everything except for that square root of 3 in there. So if I do that, right, I have 1/2. I'm just going to say 0.5. 0.5 times 6 times 96. All right, that's what I want to put in my calculator. I don't want to put the square root of 3 in there. All right, so this is 288. So 288 square root of 3. If I put all of it in there, so if I put in the 0.5 times 6 times 96 and then times the square root of 3 in there, times the square root of 3, come on, there we go. Right, that it's typing it all exactly in there, but your calculator is going to spit out that decimal. And this is an approximation, right? We would round this at some point. I'm trying to avoid rounding when possible. So that's why I leave that square root of 3 off until I just stick it right back on at the end. So multiply all the nice numbers together and then just throw the square root of 3 back in there, right? So that is your base. And what we can do is we know the surface area, you have to double the base. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to double the 288. I'm not going to add the square root of 3 on there. So I'm going to do 288 times 2, and that's 576. And now that number, that's where I'm going to throw the square root of 3. So we have this 768 plus, now we have that number that we had in our calculator that I forgot, 576 plus 576 square root of 3. All right, now that is an exact answer. We don't have to worry about, rounding any decimals or anything on there. That is a perfect answer. If you did want decimals, you can, but what we have now is better. All right, and last one, the volume of a prism. So this formula I am confident of. This is just the area of the base times the height. All right, so that 288 square root of 3 times 8. All right, so again, just worry about the nice numbers. 288 times 8. All right, and that's going to be 2,304. So we have 2,304. And now put the square root of 3 on the end. All right, so don't avoid decimals when we can. All right, just whole numbers are much nicer. Right. Oh, but there you go. That's the lateral area, the surface area, and the volume of the prism. All right, we got a few more here. This is going to require some formulas and some algebra. Lateral area of a cylinder is 96. If the height is 12, find the radius. All right, so a lot going on here. I'm going to stick with what we know. We know LA equals 2 pi r times h. All right, that's our formula. Start always, start with the formula and then plug in what you know. So we got a 96 pi. 96 pi equals 2 pi r and then a 12. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything over. If, here, just for this one, we'll go one by one. I'm going to get rid of the pies. So we have 96. We can cancel. I can divide both sides by a pi. So I have 96 equals 24 times the radius, right? 2 times 12 gives you 24. The pies are gone, so 96 equals 24 r. And now I'm just going to divide away the 24. All right, and hopefully that's a nice number. It's probably like 3. Let's just double check. 96 divided by 24. 96 divided by 24. Oh, see, it's 4. Glad we checked. All right, so the radius is 4. Can you tell I'm doing these for the first time? All right, your radius is 4, and that one's done, right? They're saying find the radius. We did. Now, if they said like find the diameter, right, double it, but they don't, so we're fine. All right, find the area and volume of a sphere. All right, first sphere problem of the day. In terms of pi, so that's nice. We'll leave the pi symbol in there. We know, again, I kind of mentioned this in class. It says the area. So a sphere is a three-dimensional shape. When we say area of a 3D shape, we are talking about the surface area. Sometimes we put it, sometimes we don't. It's kind of lazy on our part. So sorry about that, but I do mean the surface area. So I know the surface area on this guy, on a sphere, is 4 times pi times the radius squared. All right, so that's just 5 squared. All right, so you can think of the surface area of a sphere as just 4 areas of a circle. 5 squared is 25 times 4 gives you 100 pi. All right, so that one's done. There's 100 pi. All right, and the volume, we know V equals 4/3 times pi times 5 cubed on this one. So 5 cubed is 125. 125 times 4 is going to be 500. So this is 500. 500 and 3 don't work well together. That's not going to give us a decimal. So I'm just going to leave this as 500 thirds pi. All right. That, again, that is an exact answer. We don't have to worry about rounding now. All right, if you do get a decimal, it'll be a little bit bigger than 500. I don't know what exactly, but I would leave it as an exact value. All right, but that one is finished. All right, 2 more here. Find the volume of a sphere with an area of 36. Again, all right, so area. This is your surface area. So starting with the surface area and working our way backwards. 4 pi r squared. So we got 36 pi. On your quiz, a lot of you guys left off that pi right there. So the surface area is 36 pi, not 36, 36 pi. That is a number, so we have to include it. It's not a unit. We get a little lazy with our units, but the pi is a number, so put that one in there. 36 pi equals 4 pi r squared. Divide both sides by that 4 pi. You're going to have 9. 9 equals r squared. All right, we got to kill the square. How do you kill the square? Square root it. Square up both sides, and we have a radius of 3. All right. We know the radius. Now we can find the volume. So the volume here is going to be equal to 4/3 pi times 3 cubed. All right. So this should be a nice number. I believe that's 36 pi. Let me double check. Oops. Yep. All right. So that's 36 pi. All right. Last one here. Volume of a cube. All right. Let's draw a cube. Cube is just a 3-dimensional square. All right. It's the same on all 3 sides. So this has a length of x, this has a length of x, and that one has a length of x. So when we've been teaching this, when I've been teaching this, I've been teaching the volume formula as the area of the base times the height. So if we want to think about this guy as our base, right, that base area here is x times x, which is x squared. So we have x squared. Here's our, well, here, let's do this. I know the volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. All right, well, the area of the base is x squared. The height is also x. So our volume for this guy is x cubed. All right. I don't know what x is, right? They tell us the volume, and all we know is that every side length is the same. I don't know what that side length is. That's why I'm using an x. All right. So since the volume is 125, we can say 125 equals x cubed. All right, and we've talked about this in class. This is the first kind of time we've talked about a cube root, right? But if you want to undo a square, you use a square root. If you want to undo a cube, use a cube root. All right, so the cube root of 25, we're going to think what times what makes 125, and in this case, it's 5. 5 equals x. All right, but we're not done. That is the side length. We want the surface area. We know the surface area. There's two ways you can do this one. I'm going to do it the way that we've been doing. Capital P times h. If you want to think about this, we have 5 all the way around. 5, 5, 5, and a 5. So the perimeter on that base is equal to 20. All right, so we're going to have 20 times the height, which gives us 5 plus 2 times capital B. Capital B is the area of the base. That's 5 squared. That's 25. All right, so let's see here. 20 times 5 is 100. That plus 50, that's 150. All right, so the surface area here is 150. Another way to do this one, it is a cube. All right, since it's a cube, we could just find the area of one side and multiply it by 6 because all 6 of those faces are the same thing. All right, but in either case, you're going to get 150. 150 what? I've been leaving off the units all day. That is 150 square centimeters because it is an area. All right, so here we'll say centimeters squared. All right, but that one is done. That was the first 3 pages. Was it the first 3? 1, 2, 3. First 3 pages. I got 2 more. I don't think I'm going to have time to finish these today. So we'll save this and we'll hit the other 2 first thing on Monday. All right. But until then, we'll see you guys later and have a good day.